Welcome to the Candidate Forum put on by the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst. My name is Patty Lackman, and I am from the League of Women Voters of Central Kane County. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that neither supports nor opposes candidates or parties for any office. The League's purpose is to promote political responsibility through the informed and active participation of citizens in government. Providing this forum allows citizens to become better informed about the issues facing their community and to become better acquainted with the candidates running for office. We are happy to provide this service for the community. At this time, I would ask that you please turn off cell phones and other electronic devices. I would also ask that you refrain from applauding or in other ways demonstrating support or opposition of a candidate. No campaign literature may be passed out in this room. Feel free to put your campaign bling on once you leave this room. The League of Women Voters of Elmhurst has submitted 3 questions which are been given to the candidates ahead of time, as well as collecting questions from the community via email. And you can also raise your hand and get a card from one of the leaguers in the audience. Note cards and pencils will be provided. Questions will be screened only for duplication, clarity, and appropriateness for the office being discussed. Please submit questions for all candidates participating in the forum. Please signal a League volunteer when your question is ready for submission or if you need additional note cards. Realize that we may not get to all questions. This forum is for those seeking to be the Elmhurst mayor for a 4-year term. The candidates have agreed to abide by the rules set forth prior to this forum. They will each present a 1-minute introductory statement, the order determined alphabetically. Then questions will be asked, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to in alternating order. Closing statements will continue to be rotating, and it will also be 1 minute in length. The League of Women Voters of Elmhurst members will keep time, timekeepers right there. Candidates will strictly adhere to the time limits. When you see the stop sign, you may finish your sentence, but let's not go on for another paragraph. Okay, we will begin with our openings. Candidate Levin, please start.
Thank you. I was elected mayor in 2021 after having lived in town for 25 years and having been an alderman for 13 years. The experience I brought to the mayor's office included 10 years in state government, including being the deputy executive director of the Criminal Justice Authority, and 35 years as a business attorney and litigator. More important than my credentials is what I've done over the past 4 years. There's not enough time to list in detail all of the accomplishments, but let me say that after being elected, I called a meeting of the council and the department heads, and we created a new strategic plan. And I'm proud to say that we've addressed every one of the priorities that we identified. You live here. I hope you'll agree that the town has been run well for the past 4 years, and I hope you'll allow me the opportunity to continue to do that.
Thank you. Candidate Mulliner, your opening.
Good afternoon. Thank you for putting on this forum. It's a wonderful event. I've been going to it since it was at the Congregational Church on Thursday evenings, which was a long time ago. I just would like to introduce myself. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Elmhurst. My parents lived here. My children now live here, and my grandchildren live here. And my focus on running for mayor is to make sure that we get the taxes and fees under control, make sure that we allow parents and people to come into the community and be able to live here for their entire life. With the way the taxes are going right now, we need to figure out a way to get some of those under control. We need to provide some relief for some of the people, and we need to figure out better ways, and think differently about how we're handling things in the city of Elmhurst. Elmhurst has been a wonderful town, is a great town. I always refer to it as Mayberry RFD on steroids. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll start with our first question with candidate Mulliner. How can the Elmhurst City Council improve or enhance transparency?
One of the things that I think we really need to do, you have a question?
I don't know that question was on.
Well, you were only given
We were only
three.
given 3 of them. They're going to rotate them
All
in.
right, very good.
Sorry. One of the things that we need to do with transparency, in my opinion, is I think we do a very good job in the city of Elmhurst. However, I think that one of the areas that people miss out on is committee meetings. One of the things that happens is most of the business that occurs within the city of Elmhurst occurs in the committee meetings. The meetings that you see on television are the business meetings within it. I think that if we could come up with a methodology to allow people to videotape or come in and actually record the meetings and broadcast them the same way we broadcast all of the other meetings, I think that would be extremely helpful to the public. The only thing that the public needs to keep in mind is that the committee meetings also are brainstorming meetings. So sometimes ideas are thrown out at meetings, and they may not be an idea that people are really thinking about, but they want some ideas and some feedback. So we need to make sure that those type of things occur. So I just suggest that what we do is we open up the doors on the committee meetings and make sure that people can have an opportunity to watch those meetings as well.
Thank you. Candidate Levin, how can the Elmhurst City Council improve or enhance transparency?
Well, first, I want to point out that in the last 4 years, as identified when I ran for mayor for the first term, was that we wanted to make information more readily accessible to the public. And we've done that by improving our website. When I was looking at our website, I felt that as someone who had been on the council at that time for a decade, I couldn't find information. So we undertook a complete rewrite of the website, and so that everyone who is wanting to find information now can find it on the website, which is our primary source. Additionally, we make ourselves accessible to the public. I've been out to many community meetings. I think for people in the community, they know I'm out there, I'm talking to them, and one of the keynotes of my candidacy, and I've maintained throughout my term, is to maintain the integrity of the office, to make sure that we're always letting people know what's going on and that we're doing the right thing.
Thank you. Candidate Levin, can you give a specific reason why we need or don't need a new police station? If you are in favor of a new station, how would you pay for it?
We hired a consultant in 2017 that conducted a space study and then determined, based upon factors that included police officer count and population, our police station is 60% smaller than what it's supposed to be. In addition to the space shortage, many of the building systems are shot. I cannot detail everything in the short time allotted, but all the information you need is on the city's website. In 2018, when I chaired the Public Affairs and Safety Committee, we started analyzing the issue and evaluating the options, which included remodeling with an addition or building an entire new station. After 7 years of study, it is now clear that a new facility is the best option, which we will be able to pay for by increasing the hotel-motel tax, selling a key piece of property. As a result, the cost to the average $500,000 home in Elmhurst will be $50 a year for a modern, up-to-date police station.
Thank you. Candidate Mulliner, same question.
First, I want to make sure that the public understands that I fully support the Elmhurst Police Department, its members. We have the best of the best. Our police department personnel come out, and we have phenomenally the best. Cities all over are looking for our police officers and trying to take our police officers away from us because they want the best in their community. We want to make sure that our police officers have the best training, have the best technology, and have the best tools needed to keep our citizens safe. Having said that, the police station that we have was built in the early 1990s. It was built during the Mayor Quinn administration. The old police station before that was located on Schiller. It was a building that had one staircase. People had to cross across the sidewalk with an offender. It wasn't safe for the police officer or the offender. So we needed a new police station. So they went forward and they put together a police station, and the city council, the city staff, and the police department were all consulted on it. I do not support a police station at this time. I think there's a lot of other options that we have available to us, and I think we need to look at those.
Thank you. Candidate Mulliner, how do you propose to finance the train station?
There's another one that my views have changed on the train station from when we first looked into it. When we first looked into the train station was pre-COVID. meaning that we had the busiest train station on the Western Line at that time. There was more people coming into Elmhurst than we could actually accommodate. So we ended up having to put in additional parking decks that were paid before by Metra, and COVID hit, and the train lines dried up. We currently are running overall on the entire Metra at 62% of the population that used to be going down and using the Metra. Do we need a new train station at this time? I think it's another one of those things we need to pause, and we need to see whether or not we're really going to see that increase in traffic begin to occur again back going downtown. Right now, it's 62% of the population. We don't need to replace the train station. We may need to fix it up, give Pilot Pete a little more room, make it look prettier on the inside, but right now, we don't need to spend another $30 million or $40 million for a train station.
Thank you. Candidate Levin, same question.
The existing train station dates back to the 60s and it was upgraded in the 80s. It doesn't meet today's energy and accessibility codes and doesn't have fire protection and has inadequate ventilation, heating, and cooling. The station is still the fourth busiest one on the Metro line. People are being called back to the office, so we have to look what the future will be. Since 2016, when we began to estimate or plan for this, the costs have gone up. They've doubled to $47 million. The largest source for the funding is grants. We've secured grants totaling $35 million of that project, and we're looking for more. Potential sources of revenue do include tax increment financing and general obligation bonds. As always, we will look at every alternative before we move forward. Yet we must acknowledge that if we don't build the train station now, it's highly unlikely that we'll ever get the tens of millions of dollars of grant funds that we have right now. If we don't use them, we'll lose them.
Thank you. In considering the two projects we just discussed, the train and the police station, how do you address residents' concern that property taxes are too high?
Of the total tax bill, about 7% is the city's portion. About 75% of the tax bill is what the schools tax the resident. Each year, the state dictates how much we have to contribute for our police and fire pensions, and we do that by raising our property taxes. We're required to. With that exception, we haven't raised our property taxes the entire time I've been on the council, 15 years ago. As I mentioned, the police station will cost the average resident $50 a year. The balance needed for the train station after grants to date is $12 million. We continue to look for additional grants to narrow the gap. The takeaway is the $48 million police station will cost $50 a year, and $35 million of the $47 million for the train station has already been covered by grants. Our city council has always been a careful steward of the tax dollars. If we started where we were, if we were 10 years ago, we might have put the police station first. Right now, we've got both projects on the table, and we have to finish them.
Thank you. Candidate Mulliner, same question.
The biggest issue that comes right now in front of us is taxes. And whether it's we put in a new train station, whether we put in a new police station, the problem we have right now are taxes and fees are too high. And the only way we're going to solve that problem doesn't have to do with what the city is doing. The city's doing a great job. The city's been very fiscally responsible with everything that it does. So have the parks and schools. However, maybe it's time for all of us, as I've been saying for about 10 or 15 years now, to meet together and figure out what we're doing together and figure out where there's overlaps and where we can save money. So what I'm proposing is that we get together and have a quarterly meeting with all of the boards, the city, the schools, the parks, the library, and figure out where there's overlaps and where we can find cost of savings. I also believe that we need to create a government center. Rather than having 3 or 4 different locations all over, let's have one location where everybody comes to and all the meetings are. We would save a significant amount of money on personnel as well as on some of the technology and other needs that we have within those buildings.
Thank you. Starting with candidate Mulliner, should the city financially support the Elmhurst Performing Arts Center?
The Elmhurst Performing Arts Center is going to be a tremendous asset to the community. However, the one thing that I would say about it is that what we need to be cautious about is we do have TIF dollars, but those TIF dollars should be used for the specific purpose of infrastructure improvements and providing some benefit, some overall benefit. I would say that we could support the Performing Arts Center if we would do something on the order of what I was talking about years ago, and that was putting a park in the back of it and having the band shell open up to the park so that the community could use the band shell as well. So that in the downtown, there was actually a park that was in the middle of the town. I think that there are ways that we will be able to help the community with the Performing Arts Center itself, but I don't think we should be the financial founding group behind it.
Thank you. Candidate Levin, same question.
Well, clearly, I've been a big supporter of the Center for the Performing Arts. It'll be a real boon to our downtown. It'll be a major draw, and it'll increase the cultural benefit of our city. It's not just a Performing Arts Center. They're talking about a 200 residential unit building, which TIF funds are appropriate for, because not only will they beautify and increase the functionality of our downtown, but it will increase the tax base of what we're bringing into the city and for the schools. These buildings provide a lot of money for the schools, and they have very few students. In addition, they will be asking for part of the donut hole, the parking lot behind it, to make this happen. We don't need another band shell. We've got 2 new ones under construction right now. So we need to get behind this. We don't have to put funds in of our own, but a TIF incentive is clearly the right way to go.
Thank you. Candidate Levin, downtown traffic is congested and parking is often hard to find. How would you address these problems?
I challenge the premise of the question. I've heard a lot of people say that traffic is getting worse. It's worse. We did a study in 2019, right before the pandemic, and we compared it to traffic study 10 years before, and as a result of the new downtown developments, there was actually a slight decrease in traffic, which I think is a statistical anomaly. I think it's insignificant. But the fact is there's been no effect because it's transit-oriented development and people walk and take the train from those new developments. A lot of it, I think, is when I talk to people who work downtown or are now working at home, they have this perception of increased traffic. And I ask them, are you talking around 3:30, 4 o'clock? Because we've always had significant traffic on York and St. Charles during those hours. People are just seeing it for the same time. We've put new parking decks online within the last 10 years. As has been said, currently they're not up to capacity. We're using a lot of that for nighttime FFC, and we'll use it for the Center for the Performing Arts.
Thank you. Candidate Mulliner, same question.
Could you repeat the question?
Downtown traffic is congested and parking is often hard to find. How would you address these problems?
I would echo a lot of what Mayor Levin has said as it relates to the traffic. If you're driving around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it's a lot of school traffic. There's a lot of traffic that people are not used to seeing. However, I don't necessarily contend that we've got an increase in traffic, and I don't contend that we should really be doing a lot with it. One of the benefits of having cars go through downtown and maybe have to stop for a minute is, as they're stopped, they may have turned their head and look and say, hey, wait a minute, I didn't know that store was there. And maybe I should go to that store, or maybe I should stop and see that there's a restaurant there. One of the things that comes to parking, we've done a very effective job of getting parking in key locations throughout the city, and during the last few years, by changing it to 2-hour parking on the street, it's pushing people more toward the decks that we built. The decks were intentionally built, and the one was intentionally put behind the York Theater to make it centrally located and easy for people to access. So we would hope that that's the direction that people go as they use the decks. If you're in Oak Brook, you walk from a deck all the way to the other side of the mall. If you're in Elmhurst, walking from the deck to York Road is a problem. So people need to really realize that they can do that.
Thank you. Candidate Mulliner, many seniors looking to downsize their homes are finding replacement housing in Elmhurst too expensive. How would you address the problem?
This is one of the challenges that I've been talking about as it relates to trying to allow people to live within the city of Elmhurst. The taxes are very high. It makes it very difficult for them too. So one of the things, going back to what I said before, is we need to start coordinating our efforts with the other taxing bodies so that where there are overlaps in places where we can identify where we can cause some savings, we should be doing that. We should be developing 1, 3, 5, maybe even 10-year plans with both the parks, the schools, and the library, so that as those plans come forward, we're not all deciding to do a project at the exact same time. If everybody's doing a project at the same time, it's going to significantly increase taxes. So we need to drive the taxes down by finding ways where there's overlaps and where we can share resources so that we can reduce those taxes rather than letting them continue to climb.
Candidate Levin, the same question.
Well, one of the things we identified in our 2022 plan that I called the council and the department heads together was to find ways so that people who, when they want to downsize, can stay in town, and also when people, the next generation wants to come to town, they can. And the first step to do that is to find out what the problem is, what's causing it. And we are going to I've arranged for the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus to come in and do a study starting probably in March that will help us document and figure out exactly what the problem is. Again, as was said by the aldermanic candidates, we have the benefit of substantially increasing home prices, which is a boon to the people who have the houses, and so it's kind of hard to make things affordable. I will also say that in terms of coordination between the Park District and the School District, they're tax capped. They can only raise the taxes the lesser of inflation, or 5%. We cannot time projects except if we do time the projects, they have a 20-year period on their bonds, so they can't be timed to affect the tax burden on the resident.
Thank you. With the Illinois Affordable Housing Planning and Appeal Act now explicitly applying to Elmhurst, what ideas to increase affordable housing availability would you like to see included in the city's affordable housing plan that's due June 14th? Candidate Levin.
Again, I will challenge the premise of the question. We are a home rule community. We've never filed a plan. The goal for the state of Illinois is 10%. We've come pretty close. We're above 9%. We've had at least one project that almost came to town and may come back on New York Road. I won't say where, but it would push us right over the 10% level. I think what we're doing with the caucus, the affordability study, will help us achieve that goal.
Thank you. Candidate Mulliner.
With the taxes as high as they are again, it makes it very difficult to get that affordable housing within the city of Elmhurst. I agree with Mayor Levin. We do have, we're at 9%-ish. We don't have to abide by that because we are a home rule community, but we do try to abide by that. I do know that there's been a number of projects throughout the years that I've been involved with the council that have come forward and asked to talk about coming into Elmhurst that would help to drive those down. However, most of those projects have left the community and said we're going to look elsewhere. Hopefully some of those projects will come back and we will be able to get to that 10% threshold.
Thank you. What steps would you take to support and enforce Illinois legislation that protects libraries from external restrictions on book collections? Candidate Mulliner.
The library has a separate board of directors, and what I would make sure of is that the board of directors and their board of trustees, which do report to the city council only for budgetary purposes, I would make sure that those individuals who are within that group are free-thinking individuals who have the ability to understand what our community wants in the book collection, as well as to make sure that it's appropriate for ages, whatever age group that the book collections or the collections are being brought forward for. It's very important to make sure that we have a mix of people on that committee so that it's not just one person telling us that this is the direction we want to go. We want to make sure that we've got a variety of different people, and we also want to make sure that those materials are age appropriate.
Candidate Levin, same question.
As Candidate Mulliner said, we do have a separate board, and I think it's really, there are a number of reasons to have a separate board. One is to keep it out of the politics of the city council. Since I make the appointments to the board, I've tried to make sure that the people I appoint represent different parts of the community, both in terms of geography and in terms of their views on the political spectrum, but people who will work together and make the common sense appropriate decisions for what our library is supposed to be. We have a 5-star library, which is the top level. There are very few libraries in the state that have achieved that, and we do that because of the quality of our board and the quality of our executive director. So I don't see any changes going forward in how we do things. I know some communities are looking at an elected library board. I'd be 100% against that because, again, it shouldn't be political. It should be people who are vetted just as it would be like a federal judge, and they are confirmed by the council.
Thank you. Question 10, in light of federal changes to immigration policies and Illinois' status as a sanctuary state, how will you respond if the deportation crisis reaches Elmhurst? Candidate Levin.
Well, I think I did that last year. We had some of the crisis reach us by way of buses coming up from Texas. As the then Vice President of the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference, which is the conference of the 35 municipalities in DuPage, I took a leadership role in saying that let's not overact or overreact. Let's do what's appropriate, which is to make sure that when the trains arrived at the train station and or the buses arrived, that the migrants were safe when they got on the trains, that there was no safety issues with respect to our residents, that we didn't have to panic and go off and pass a lot of ordinances which might be unnecessary and offensive. So one of the things that we have to do here is to make sure that we continue to act responsibly based upon the situation at hand. I don't know, we're not a sanctuary city. We don't have the facilities to be one, but we will support and cooperate with other governmental entities in the region.
Thank you. Candidate Mulliner.
I would say that the first and foremost thing is that we need to protect our citizens no matter what it takes. I think that the response the last time to continue to move the migrants out, or the illegals out, was the best approach to take. I think that what we need to do is make sure that if we do end up, as an example, arresting someone who has a detainer, we need to follow what the federal law says, and the federal law says that they should be notified, that ICE should be notified, and I think that we need to take that responsibility as a city. I do believe that right now we're okay. We don't need to pass more additional ordinances, but we do need to make sure that we're protecting our citizens first and foremost.
Thank you. What ideas do you have for improving the integrity of local campaigns and elections? Candidate Mulliner.
I'm not sure really where that question is coming from, because I feel that we have a very good system going forward with the city of Elmhurst. The only thing that I would suggest is that I think that I truly believe that we should have a single election day. As it relates to the integrity within the city of Elmhurst, I think that all of the candidates understand that we're all community members, we all have families here, and I think that we treat each other with respect, as we should, and I think that's what we should continue to do. We should follow the laws as they're written, and if we find a point where we can change them back to a single day of voting, to me, that's the paper ballots. That's the best thing for us to do for all people.
Candidate Levin.
Well, I'm proud to say that as a resident of Elmhurst, I feel that our election process has been spot on, that we debate the issues, which is part of the process, that we're a nonpartisan election, and that whatever your political place in the political spectrum, we come forward here and serve on the council to do what's best for the city of Elmhurst. I wouldn't address it, but I disagree with candidate Mulliner. I do think that it's proven that everyone is not able to get out and vote on election day, as you will find for the current election. It's right during school break, and a lot of people are going to need to use mail-in ballots or to come in and vote at City Hall at a time other than on election day. But I don't see any changes are needed. I don't think that's really within the scope of what we can do.
Thank you. Candidate Levin. If elected mayor, what specific actions would you consider to switch to cleaner, greener energy?
Well, you know, we're kind of at a pause. When I was on the Public Affairs and Safety Council before I became mayor, there was a proposal to have some environmental, an environmental group, a study done, and it was kind of stalled. I helped to get through Public Affairs and Safety and through the council. We meet and update that twice a year. As we look at electric vehicles, and the trend has been to expand, but right now with what's coming from the federal government, who knows where electric vehicles are going or not. But I do think there's an opportunity to reinstate some of our initiatives to see where we stand generally on environmental issues.
Thank you. Candidate Mulliner.
I think in general, environmental issues we need to address and be very careful with. We do things such as plant trees. I know that the question is probably related more toward electric vehicles, solar panels, etc. I will tell you that back in the early 80s and probably late 70s, early 80s, the waste management plant used to take all of the gases from the waste management plant and we produced our own electricity. We were way ahead of the curve back then. Then there was a period where electricity became so cheap we actually went away from that, and we have come back to doing that now. I would argue that if it's budget neutral or budget beneficial, we should do it. If it's not, we need to rethink it.
Thank you. Candidate Mulliner, should committee meetings be recorded and streamed?
I truly believe that they should be, but the public needs to clearly have an understanding that those are working sessions. I don't feel that we should be hiding anything. I think that they should be streamed. The working sessions that are behind, that everybody watches, the people need to understand that when we do those recordings, that a lot of ideas are thrown around during those meetings, and those ideas should be thrown around. An alderman may say something. That doesn't mean that that's what he stands for. That just means he's trying to get an answer. He's trying to get a response. All of us have been there as an alderman trying to figure out what the best solution is, so we throw ideas out. That doesn't mean that's what we're supporting. That just means we're trying to get the best solution for the city of Elmhurst and the people who live in Elmhurst. But I do believe that they should be televised because that will increase the transparency within the city of Elmhurst.
Candidate Levin.
Well, there's currently a proposal, a referral before the City Council to answer or look at that question. So my mind might change, but currently, although I see that on face value there's an increase in transparency, I don't think it's a good idea to televise, to record. And the reason is, first of all, I think, as has been discussed by Candidate Mulliner, people need to speak freely. It's so easy to take a piece of a clip for something that's recorded and use it against the person who says it. And I want free discussion. The meetings are open. Any resident who wants to come, who's interested in the topic, will be there. Secondly, it's a little bit intimidating for the resident who wants to speak at the meeting, knowing that when they come and speak, they'll also be recorded and they can be clipped and put up on social media. Third is the cost. It costs some money to equip rooms like this particular chamber is equipped. To do the video recording, we'd have to set it up 4 different times in each of the committee rooms to do that, and so I don't think it's the best thing to do.
Thank you. Candidate Levin, many residents are complaining about their increasing water bills. Why do the bills keep rising, and what can be done about this?
You know, a lot of the water bill is beyond our control. We buy water from the DuPage Water Commission, which in turn purchases from the City of Chicago, and the City of Chicago has ramped up the water bill rates significantly, which passed it down the line to us. Our water service is an enterprise service. We tax for what it costs us to run it, and a lot of the facilities are aging and have to be replaced. So if we don't do that, we don't maintain the quality of our water facilities. And what's more important than safe, drinkable water. At the back end, we treat the wastewater that comes back from the houses, and there are a lot of federal mandates, such as phosphates, which are being imposed upon us, which cost millions of dollars to do. So we have to make these improvements. I've heard it said that our water bills are higher than other municipalities, and in my role on DuPage mayors and managers, I'll tell you, the other municipalities will soon see the increases that we've seen. We're just a little bit ahead of the curve.
Thank you. Candidate Mulliner.
I would echo a lot of what Mayor Levin said. The only thing that I would change in it is that the one area that we have the potential of being able to make modifications to is the capital improvements that we have to do. And we have to do those capital improvements to our wastewater treatment plant, which we've been doing and we've been keeping up, and we're probably ahead of the curve on that, and the infrastructure underneath our feet, the water that's the sewage water and the water that's coming to and from our houses, and we need to make sure that those pipes are maintained. I would argue that those two places we need to really focus a great deal of energy on looking at what the infrastructure bill says that was passed under the Biden administration, and see how many dollars we can tap into there to maybe pay off some of those bonds that we have. Also, I would look into whether or not we can move some of that over to the property tax. Even though I know we don't want it on the property tax, it spreads it more evenly. When you put it in a utility tax such as the water tax, it basically taxes school districts and hospitals and places significantly more than it taxes the regular people. You just don't realize it.
Thank you. Last question. Starting with candidate Mulliner, do you support a cannabis dispensary in Elmhurst? Why or why not?
Absolutely not. It's a lead-in drug to other drugs. I do not support the idea of cannabis in the city of Elmhurst.
Thank you. Candidate Levin.
You know, when I ran in 2021, I asked a lot of the people as I went door to door about cannabis and video gaming. Curiously, there was almost uniform opposition to video gaming, and people seemed willing to talk about cannabis. But since that time, the amount of cannabis dispensaries has increased where there are more dispensaries than there may be demand. So the amount of revenue that is available from the cannabis tax dollar is so negligible that it's really not something that would otherwise drive it. I think the people who in town were talking about where they would have to go to get cannabis, you go to any community around us and you'll get cannabis. I think part of the desirability of Elmhurst is that the character that we don't have the video gaming and we don't have the cannabis. Would I look at cannabis in the future? Yes, but I don't see it for right now.
Thank you. And so we'll start with our closing statements. Candidate Levin, let's do opposite. Let's do candidate Mulliner first.
I just want to thank everybody for being here, and those of you who have been able to watch this. I appreciate the fact that you're interested in what's going on in the community. I want to thank everybody who has been involved in the community. We have a number of boards and commissions, and all of those people have put in tremendous amounts of time. So I want to thank Mayor Levin for the time that he's put in as a candidate and as an elected official. He's done a tremendous job helping us out in the city. I just think that right now it's time for me. One of the things that I want to promote before I end this is that I want to look at what I'm going to refer to as Elmhurst 2026, celebrating 250 years of the birthday of the USA. In the year 2026, I want to have a citywide event throughout the entire year supporting the birthday, ending up on the 4th of July with a huge celebration in the downtown area. I think that it'll highlight the city of Elmhurst in a great way, and it'll celebrate the birth of our country. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to your vote on April 1st.
Thank you. Candidate Levin.
Well, thank you to the League and to all of you who are taking advantage of the time to get to know the candidates. The police station issue briefly addressed today was featured in my State of the City address last week and can be watched at elmhursttv.org, and I invite you to watch that. It'll answer a lot of the questions about the police station. Also, there's a great deal of information on my positions in my candidacy on my website, Levin4Mayor, that's Levin4Mayor.com, and I hope you'll visit that website. The theme of my last campaign and this campaign is working together for Elmhurst. I've regularly met with the school district, the park board, the university administration, the hospital administration, the county board, as well as many, many community groups and clubs. I'm also the president of the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference. I've maintained my commitment to integrity, working together with all despite different views to keep Elmhurst a safe, thriving, and family-friendly community. I respectfully ask for your vote so I continue doing just that. Thank you.
Thank you. For more information, please visit the nonpartisan voter guide, illinoisvoterguide.org, in March, the candidates' websites, as well as the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst YouTube channel on our website. Your participation as a candidate and as a voter is essential to preserving the democracy we hold dear. Please remember to vote on or before April 1st, as one vote can decide the election, and then that one vote could be yours. Sorry, talked a lot today. Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause.